AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection presents Let's Talk Salud, Dinero y Amor, an interactive conversation on issues relevant to Hispanic Latinos. Do interact with us by sharing your comments. Let's begin. Welcome to Let's Talk Salud, Dinero y Amor, an interactive conversation on issues relevant to Hispanic Latinos. This is David Parra, and we have a very special show today. The topic of today is voting in Arizona. Voting in Arizona, who makes it happen? Who makes it happen? And before we move on, I would like to read just a little paragraph that I wrote out of my inspiration, if you will. I'll read it. It says, voting is our civic duty. It is our right, a right that many had to fight and sacrifice their life to secure. Voting is fundamental to our democracy. It's the way we elect our leaders at the national, state, county, and city levels. Voting is a great undertaking. In today's show, we will talk about the entities that make it happen in Arizona. And now I would like to introduce our guest. I can hear a little noise somewhere there, but we just kind of have to roll with the punches, as they say. Let me introduce my guest, and I'm very happy and thankful to have representatives from three, but not four, not of the four entities, and one is joining at this. She should be joining shortly. And first of all, not in any specific order, but the way this technology works. Whoever comes in first sets you in a kind of an order. But let me start with Gina Roberts. Gina Roberts represents the Arizona Clean Elections. Gina, thank you so much. I know it's early, and I appreciate that you are joining us today.
Hi, David. Good morning. And thank you so much for the invitation. I think this is a great and timely subject, so I appreciate you having us today.
And Erica Flores, thank you so much. You have been with us for several times. You're almost a regular now, and I welcome you and I thank you for joining today.
Thank you, David. It's really great to be here to be able to inform voters about our upcoming elections.
At this very second, I am adding Jessica del Rincon. Jessica, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Good morning.
Oh, awesome. Technology is great when it works, right?
Yes, absolutely.
You know, the more I do shows, the more I like to show graphics, and I want to give people the opportunity to read, to find, to see the information on the screen. This is voting in Arizona. Who makes it happen? I would like to show a slide because this is the focus of the show today. And it is entities that make elections happen in Arizona. I check with pretty much all of you, and I believe there's not a fifth entity. So I think I got it right. And so what I would like to do today is ask you to basically tell us the entity that you represent, what you do, how the public interacts with you, and then contact information. I foresee that this is going to be not a long show, so it's basically going to be a presentation of your agencies, your entities. So on the screen, you can see that I named the four entities that are responsible to make elections happen in Arizona. We have the Arizona Secretary of State, Arizona Clean Elections, Maricopa Recorder's Office, and Maricopa County Elections Department. This is it. And sometimes it might not be easy to know which is which and what each does, but that's why we have you today. Before I call on the first one of you, I would like to read something that I copied from the website of the Secretary of State because we could not, and I'm blaming myself because it was so short notice that we couldn't get someone from Katie's Hobbs' office to be on our show today. So I decided just to copy this little paragraph from their website, and I want to read it because I'm not sure that it'll do justice, but at least something. So, an important duty of the Office of the Secretary of State is trustworthy, secure elections. The Secretary of State serves as Chief Election Officer for the state. One of the goals of the office is to register more voters and encourage them to become engaged in their elections. The office also certifies voting devices, election results, candidates, and measures to the ballot, as well as the results of statewide elections. In addition, they are the filing office for campaign finance and expenditure reports made by lobbyists. Again, this is from their website. We apologize that we cannot have someone representing the Secretary of State or she herself, but you have a phone number, a website, and a Facebook page on your screen. You can stop the video if you need to take a picture of it or write it down. Perfect. So now I would like to call on Gina Roberts. Gina Roberts to talk to us about the agency or entity that you represent, the Arizona Clean Elections. So take it away, Gina. Help us understand what the agency does, how they interact with the public, and vice versa, and some contact information.
Sure thing. Thank you, David. So the Arizona Citizen Clean Elections Commission is a state agency, and we were actually created by voters through a citizens initiative in 1998. And the goal of the Commission of Clean Elections is to promote participation in the political process. And so the way that we do that is through voter education. And voter education is critical because while we have the discussion today about the administration of elections, voter education really focuses on how to help the voter navigate through that electoral process. So the commission provides voter education to every voter across the state. It's not just Maricopa County, Pima County, but all of our 15 counties. We try to reach voters. And what we're trying to do is give them all of the information that they need. So one, that they can actually vote, they can get their ballot, but two, that they can vote informed. So they have information on the candidates and the issues. And as far as the logistics of voting goes, provide voters information such as how to get their ballot, if they want to vote early, if they want to get a ballot mailed to them, or if they prefer to go to the polls on election day. We give them all of the information that they need to know, such as what ID it may be necessary for them to go in person, or how to contact their county recorder to get their early ballot, things like that. So more so about the logistics of voting is the first aspect. And then second to that, again, is voting informed. And that's really about connecting the voter to the candidates that are running in their district. Most recently, some of the things that we've done is we sent out a voter education guide to every household in the state with a registered voter. So if you're tuning in today, I'm hoping that you did receive this voter guide. This is what it looks like. And it was sent to everyone's mailbox, and it has candidates that are running for the statewide office, which this year is Corporation Commissioner, and then the state legislature. So we have information also about the logistics of voting in there, the important dates and deadlines that you need to know. And as a voter, it's important when you decide to cast your ballot, and I think with how David started off this show and talking about the importance of voting, I think that's something that we all really need to remember this year. And it's important for voters to know the options that exist for them. So you have options, especially in light of COVID-19 and the pandemic, whatever choice you feel comfortable in how you want to cast your ballot, if that's in person or if it's from the comfort and safety of your own home, we guide voters through that process. And the other thing that we do to help connect voters to candidates specifically is we host debates. And so all of this information is available at our website, which is at azcleanelections.gov. And there you'll find a wealth of information about the electoral process. And it's very user-friendly, very easy to use. And we have a voter dashboard where all you have to do is enter in your address, and we provide all of your customized voting information for you. We tell you where your voting location is. We tell you the early voting locations, your contact information, who's currently representing you in office, and who the candidates in your district are. And if you prefer not to use a website, you can always call our office at 202-364-3477. Again, I really encourage that you take a look at our website because pretty much everything you need to know, it's going to be. So again, I'm Gina. I'm the Voter Education Director of the Arizona Citizens Clean Elections Commission. And our role in elections is to help you, the voter, know everything that you need to know to get your ballot and to vote informed. So thank you, David.
Perfect. Now, what caught my attention was the voter guide. Are you, of the 4 entities that we are showcasing today, are you the one entity that does voter guide, or some of the others do too?
That's a great question. So for the primary election, we're the only entity that sends out the voter education guide. When we get to the general election, elections will again send another voter education guide out that has candidate information in it. But voters, they will also receive a publicity pamphlet from the Arizona Secretary of State's office. And that has information on the ballot measures that will be on the ballot, the statewide ballot measures, as well as the judges and justices that are running for retention. So right now in your mailboxes, you would have only received this one voter education guide from Clean Elections. And again, it has that candidate information in it. And then for the November election, you'll get 2, one from Clean Elections and one from the Secretary of State's office.
If Jessica, Erica, if you have any questions for Gina, by all means, we want this to be a conversation. I have told several people, including all my colleagues, that I have heard about Clean Elections, I think 15 years ago. And it was not until this past week that I actually visited your website. I was blown away. That information that you have there is so good. I like the tab that you have, how government works, and you have the federal elections, the state elections, the county elections, the city. It is just a great information that you have on your website. We really encourage. Can you repeat the website address again?
Yes, it is azcleanelections.gov. And thank you, David, for that shout out to the website. Again, it has information about the logistics of voting, the candidates, but also, there's a lot of conversations going on right now about maybe some concerns about the integrity of elections. And we have information on there that addresses those issues. We talk a lot about the safety and security of voting by mail and the security of our election equipment, all to address any concerns that voters may have about the integrity of elections. And of course, as you mentioned, the How Government Works tab, if a voter is taking the time to cast their ballot and to be an informed voter, it helps to have that connection to the election. And so it's important to understand what the responsibilities are of those offices that are on the ballot. So you again, feel that connection and hopefully cast that ballot.
Erica Flores with the Maricopa County Elections Department, is your turn. Help us understand what the entity you represent does, how they interact with the public, how can the public interact with you, resources, online, etc. Take it away.
Sure, and I just wanted to start with clarifying that the entities in Arizona, there are other elections departments in the other counties as well. So we just administer in Maricopa County. So we do have a voter outreach campaign. It's called BeBallotReady.vote.
Let me interrupt you because you are 100% right, of course. Let's repeat that because this is very, very important, because a lot of times folks who may be watching in other parts of Maricopa County, they always they don't like it that we basically think that that only Phoenix or Maricopa is the whole state. But can you, okay, so you are the Department of Elections in Maricopa County, but how many counties do we have in Arizona? And obviously each county would have its own Department of Elections. Would you elaborate just on that a little bit?
Sure. So there are other elections departments across Arizona. So we only administer the elections in Maricopa County. We help the more than 2.4 million registered voters that are in Maricopa County to vote. So we inform them about the elections coming up. But there are other elections departments in other counties that administer those county elections. So they reach out to the voters in their county. So here in Maricopa County, we have more than 2.4 million registered voters. And we do have a voter outreach campaign, which is BeBallotReady.vote. And we have that in Spanish as well, tengaboletarista.voto. So all of our communications are bilingual so that we can reach people where their comfort level is in their language. And of course, we all know that here in Arizona and Maricopa County, a large portion also speaks Spanish. So we have both that in English and Spanish. And we have been currently informing people, especially about our safety measures that we have in place, because as Gina referred to earlier, it's so important that voters know, especially with COVID-19, the pandemic, that they know what their voting options are. So we have been informing them about their options to vote by mail, or if they want to go in person, we have expanded those options as well. And today, actually, this weekend starts weekend voting. So today we have 45 locations open, and this is the first time we've had so many locations open for weekend voting. Here for the August primary, we wanted to make sure that people had those options available for early voting as well, so that they can go as soon as now if they'd like to at those 45 locations. Since July 8th, we actually had some locations open as well. And they can look at locations.maricopa.vote to be able to find those locations. There are also wait times listed there. And all of the locations that we secured are large enough to practice physical distancing, because that's so important during this COVID-19 pandemic. So some of our locations are actually in malls or retail locations so that we could practice that physical distancing. We also have poll workers that are required to wear gloves, masks, face shields. We have masks and gloves available to voters if they forget their masks at home when they get to the voting center. And they are also vote centers this year. So voters can go to any of those locations to cast their vote. They don't have a designated location this year. So it's really important for voters to be able to look up at BeBallotReady.vote and make sure they know what locations are listed there, because it may be different than what they're used to seeing.
Great information, Erica Flores, Deputy Director of Communications for Maricopa County Elections Department. And let me say again, Maricopa County. As we know, we have 15 counties in the state. So as Erica said it well, each county has its own efforts that are similar to these ones that she just described. I'm going to keep saying that if any one of you have a question for the other guests, by all means, ask each other questions. You are more informed than I am, because this is your field. So if we're missing anything that you think needs to be said, feel free to ask questions of one another. Jessica Del Rincon, is now your turn. You work for the Maricopa County Recorder's Office. Is that correct? And if so, take it away. Help us understand what the Recorder's Office does and how they interact with the public, and how can the public reach out to you.
Well, good morning, David. Again, I'm very excited to be here and to be able to talk about elections. I'm also very excited to be here with my colleagues, Gina, and one of the colleagues that I actually work very closely with, Erica Flores. As you mentioned, I work with the Maricopa County Recorder's Office as a public information officer. And through my role, I actually have the opportunity to work with Erica and some other members of the communications team on that campaign, tengaboletarista.voto, or Be Ballot Ready, to be able to educate voters about what their options are for the August primary election. As Erica alluded a little bit to, the vote center option and the in-person option and the mail-in option, one of the options that we've been able to inform voters about is their opportunity to be able to request a ballot and vote by mail. We've been able to educate voters about the process of that, and so it's really easy to request a mail-in ballot, and how it's actually a very secure process in itself. One of the services that we also provide is a text message, a ballot update service, where voters can actually text the word join to 628-683 to receive updates about their ballot and where it is in the verification, processing, and tabulation process. Again, we've been able to talk about mail-in ballot voting, and actually one of the things that recently happened was yesterday was the deadline for voters to request that mail-in ballot. So that deadline was July 24th. At this time, it has passed, but if we have any voters who are joining us today and who still have their ballot at home, the deadline to return their mail-in ballot is July 29th. That's next week. We highly encourage voters to get those ballots in the mail by that deadline, so that way we can receive it by election day. If voters happen to not turn in that ballot by July 29th, you still have the option to go to any vote center and turn that ballot in person. And so those are some of the options and the great things that we're able to provide voters during this August primary, David. And I'm so very excited to be here to talk about that.
Perfect. I did say that this show probably was going to be somewhat short, because that's how we want it to be. We really want the community to understand these four entities that make it happen, that make elections happen. You know, two concepts that I have is many people lost their lives to secure the right, our right to vote. And this is a very important thing. This is part of our democracy. Without elections, without electing representatives who will represent us in the different arenas, there's just no way to carry out our democracy. So democracy and voting is very much linked, and it's a huge undertaking. I mean, I honestly, I don't have any idea, but you do, the undertaking that it takes to put this votings and everything together and make it happen. Let me go ahead, Gina.
And I think what you're talking about right now is so very important, and I wanted to add on to that. At the August election that we have here, the August 4th election, it's a primary election, and historically we see, unfortunately, lower turnout in primaries. And I think just with everything that you're talking about the importance of voting and our civic duty, I just want to encourage everybody to remember that for our primary elections. Sometimes there are elections and candidate races that are actually determined in the primary just due to the competition that's out there. And so it is really important to cast your ballot in a primary election. I know everybody's looking forward to what we call the Super Bowl of elections, the presidential election in November, but primaries are just important. So I think if everything that you're saying, David, is spot on. And, you know, I also think when you do cast your ballot, and it's also important to encourage your friends and families to do that. And I would love to ask, I think it's so wonderful, but I would love to ask Jessica and Erica if they could talk about that wonderful new surprise that's included for all of those early ballots that was sent out, because I know that I personally loved getting that little sticker in there, and I just think that was so great that your office did that. And I know all voters out there who perhaps already voted early, hopefully they received this too, and they realize those were in there. But I think that I voted sticker is such great social currency, and that can help you encourage other people in your life to vote too. So maybe ladies, if you wanted to let voters know about that wonderful new addition that you added to those early ballots this year.
Sure. I think everybody was really excited to see those stickers in the mail this time, right, Jessica? We had Fill the Ballot, and then we also had some stickers with the Maricopa County landscape, like city downtown. But Jessica, if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yes, absolutely. So one of the interesting things that voters were able to receive in their mail-in ballots this year is an I voted sticker. And we've actually been able to bring that sticker back after 10 years. We're really excited because that sticker is not only a hallmark of civic engagement and is an opportunity for voters to really get engaged in the voting process, as Gina was describing, but we're really excited because it's also a way of encouraging voters to turn in their mail-in ballots early. And so that way it helps us on the administrative end to tabulate, process, and verify those ballots in an efficient way.
Great. Go ahead, Erica, adelante.
Something that we've been trying to do too is increase engagement on social media. So I think that helped as well because we saw a lot of stickers. People were posting pictures with their stickers on social media and letting people know, oh, the primary is coming up. Look, I voted. Look at my sticker. So that was really great to watch as well.
Yeah.
Before we finish, because we're coming to a close again, I wanted to make this show, around 30 minutes max. So let's wrap it up in this way. Let's think of people who need help and who they would go to. Okay. So I'm a young person. I need to register to vote. Who can help me? What do I do?
You could go to ballotready.vote in English or tengaboletista.voto. So that's the voter outreach campaign that Jessica and myself work on it, but that's for Maricopa County. So if you're outside of Maricopa County, then you would go to arizona.vote or servicearizona.com so that you can register to vote.
And once I register, let's say I want to change parties. And we're talking about online here. So I want to change parties because primaries, it's a little tricky where if you register for one party, you cannot get the ballot for the other parties, etc. When you want to change parties, where do you go? Same places?
Same place. You would go for Maricopa County specifically, be ballotready.vote, or in areas in Arizona, you could go straight to servicearizona.com.
Okay, I really don't know who my candidates are, and I need to know a little bit more about each of the candidates. Where do I go?
That one you'll want to go to azcleanelections.gov. We have profiles for all of the candidates that are running for statewide and legislative office, as well as our federal offices and some of our local offices. So there you're able to see their photograph, their biography, a 200-word statement from them, their website and social media links, and their contact information. So it's all there organized for you, and you can learn a little bit more about those candidates and what issues are important to them. And you can also see them in action in debates that we hosted with those candidates too. So you can learn about where they stand on those issues. So again, that's at azcleanelections.gov for that candidate information.
Okay, I am. I don't feel comfortable anymore voting in person. What can I do? Where can I go to change that?
If somebody
go if you're in. Oh, go ahead, Jessica.
If you're in Maricopa County, you can go to request.maricopa.vote. However, the deadline to request a mail-in ballot has passed for the August primary. That was July 24th. But you can also go to our elections calendar on our website to look and see what the deadlines are for the next election.
I personally sometimes would like to think of a place where I can go and know, because it's too hard to keep track, right, of everything, every election, every date. Is there a place that I can go that tells me the different kinds of elections, the due dates, et cetera, et cetera?
We definitely have that information on our website at azcleanelections.gov. And I should also note, we have an app that you can download too, if that's your preference. And also, I would encourage everyone to follow us on social media. So on Facebook, if you wanted to like our page, that will help keep you informed about those different elections that are coming up, who can participate, and the important dates and deadlines. Also, you never miss your chance to vote.
Perfect.
I also want to mention that the Secretary of State's office, they have that calendar as well on their website. And then we have it on ballotready.vote. That's a personalized dashboard. So you just put 4 pieces of information and you'll be able to see your name, how you're registered. You'll be able to see your upcoming election, the locations where you can vote, and all of that information as well for Maricopa County.
I have heard that 80+% of people vote by mail. Is this statewide, county-wise? What is that number relates to?
Yeah, that number, David, that is about statewide. So I'm sure Jessica and Erica can talk specifically about Maricopa, but when you look at the entire state of Arizona, about 80% of voters to cast their ballot by mail. And we've long had voting by mail available in Arizona for over 2 decades now. So it is definitely a system that voters are opting into, and it is definitely a system that is well established and secure, and it's also verifiable. You can go to beballotready.vote, you can go to your county recorder's website and to the Secretary of State's website, and you can actually verify your ballot was received and counted. So it is definitely a great system that Arizona voters utilize.
Okay, let me, before we finish, let me share three comments from people that have just commented on our page. First, we have Yvette Peña. Yvette Peña says, thanks for the information. We all need to stay informed. Thank you, Yvette Peña. She happens to be with the ARP at the national level. We appreciate your comment, Yvette. Thank you so much. We also have Jacob Parra, who happens to be my son. He says, I just mailed my early ballot yesterday. Vote AZ. Wow, he's paying attention. That's good. My wife has completed hers. I have to complete mine this weekend, and it'll go out. But I just want to say that voting by mail, it is the most amazing thing. I really hope that one day we can vote via internet like the census. We're dreaming, but hopefully we can get to that point. But even now, as voting by mail, it is amazing, so practical. You don't have to go and drive or anything. So it is very good. Before we finish, I also want to share another comment by Alex Juarez, who happens to be my colleague. He says, is there a limit of money candidates can spend in TV ads, etc.? It is annoying to see how much money gets wasted in these ads when there is so much need in the community. Anybody can give it a shot at that question?
Sure. That's a great question, Alex. And, there are different rules around campaign finance depending on what office that candidate is running for. So if it's a federal candidate, they report to the Federal Elections Commission, and they have a different set of campaign finance rules, and as opposed to maybe a local candidate or a statewide and legislative candidate. And also in particular with clean elections. So one of the other components of the Clean Elections Commission is we also offer public financing for statewide and legislative candidates. And if they agree to run as a clean elections candidate, that means what they're doing is they're foregoing contributions from special interest groups. And they also have limits on what they can spend. So in regards to Alex, his question, it really depends, but you are going to be seeing much more ads and campaigning from candidates as we get closer to the general election. So, I don't have a direct answer for that, but again, it just depends on the candidate and what office they're running for and what campaign finance laws that they have to adhere to.
Gina Roberts with the Arizona Clean Elections, Erica Flores, Maricopa County Elections Department, Jessica Del Rincon, Maricopa Recorder's Office. It's been a pleasure having you. I love the show. Just a little over 30 minutes, perfectly fine. I think we share a lot of good information, and I'm going to keep bugging you, coming back to you to ask you to continue to inform our community. I think it's worthwhile. We also do it in Spanish. So once again, thank you to each one of you for joining.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
This concludes our show, and follow our page because we have many, many more shows to address many more relevant issues to all of you. Take care. Have a great day.
Arizona Hispanic Connection.